Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Face to Face Fridays.
Conversations with women having shared experiences across generations. I'm Shannon, a former latchkey, play outside until dark, drink straight from the water hose, MTV obsessed Gen Xer. I worked at the mall in high school and was issued a book of street maps and a pager for my first sales job. I am the president and CEO of a statewide nonprofit and the founder of Leaderboard, the online directory where we make it easy to do business with women.
My name is Kristen Olmstead. I am a proud member of Generation Z. I grew up obsessed with Disney Channel and Nickelodeon and had a crush on Joe Jonas for my entire childhood. I have recently graduated from Oklahoma City University with my master's and I am now trying to figure out what being a young professional means. And we hope you enjoy.
Enjoy.
Hi.
Hi. Face to face.
Face to face.
I mean,
Fridays.
it's legit. Face to face now.
We're here. And we're talking about finance and equality and equity.
The differences of equality, the words, what they mean.
Yeah. So what do they mean?
I think equality is being like everybody just being the same. And I think that's a great idea, but I think the reality is, even especially if we talk about women's sports, men's sports, like I don't think women expect to play. Nobody says they're going to be the same as a man. Equity would be having the same opportunity. So I think when it comes to finances, I think whenever we're talking about this, one of the somebody we like following, which is Vivian too, which she has your rich BFF on Instagram. She says it's the same burden for me that it is for you. So if you're tithing 10%, whether you make $1 million a year or whether you make $1,000, 10% to me is the same as 10% to you.
Right.
And so that's what equity is. It's the same financial burden. So if you're in a relationship and you're splitting expenses, her comment is, if you make $100,000 and somebody makes $500,000, that's how the rent should be distributed. Not the rent's $1,000, we each pay $500.
Right.
Which is controversial.
Really?
In this last post she had, she talked about there was like 15,000 comments about, oh, wait until she has to be the one who has to earn money and she out earns her part. It's just funny because it's the assumption is, of course, that she's a gold digger or that she's wanting something for nothing and she's producing.
Yeah, which is wild. I think when Nick and I moved in together, I was working part-time and he had a full-time job. And that's how we did it, was this is how much I bring home. And so this is how much you bring home. And so what is the percentage of those that is equal burden? Wow. And that's what we continue doing.
So you have
now.
Equity, period, in your relationship.
Yeah. For food, we do that differently. We split it 50-50 because we both eat,
we eat the same. That feels right. Yeah.
We eat the same amount. But for rent specifically,
which is a big expense.
We do that. And then now both of us make around the same amount. And so that difference looks, smaller. Right. But we still consider it, if I bring home this amount, this is 15% of mine, this is 15% of yours.
Whose idea was that? How did you all reach that conclusion?
I think honestly it was both of us saying like, this is what's fair. I don't think I was the one who first came to that comment. I think whenever Nick and I first moved in together, I wasn't working. I was still a full-time student. And so I lived rent-free. Right. And so when I started working and had my part-time job and was able to contribute, that's when we talked about like, it's not financially fair to have me be spending the same amount when it's like, I don't even somewhat bring home what you make. And also you're full-time, you get to work full-time and therefore make more money. I don't get to work full-time because I'm a full-time student. Right. So it was just an honest conversation, which is why I feel like it's weird that people were not agreeing with that.
I feel like people have ideas. Like this is where that whole perception of traditional roles comes in, where you just put your money together, right? You just turn over all of your resources to one or both of you in one pot. And then that's where the bills get paid. But and there's no, let me be clear, there's no right or wrong in all these things. There's just past experiences and shared experiences. And so I was curious how you came to that, because as a person 30 years your senior, when I got married, like the first time, traditionally, I had always made more money than my spouse. In sales, you just make more money. Yeah. And there were times we both made good money. I don't want to imply he didn't make good money, but I just handed my check over. And so we would say, can we afford this house? And it was, we can afford X $1,000 for a house, which will contribute to this kind of payment. And that's how we made decisions Although I checked out of the decision-making process, I think I told you, I'm going to share that in the upcoming newsletter. I deferred because I grew up, I have a lot of trauma around money growing up. We didn't have much of it, and I didn't know how to manage it, and it intimidated me. And so I deferred, even though I was running balance sheets with multi-million-dollar properties, generating tens of millions of dollars.
Wow.
I didn't feel comfortable. And he was a CPA and is super smart, and there's no financial abuse there. It just was comfortable to defer. And so when we got divorced, I knew we had a savings account. I knew we had a checking account. I had no clue about, other than my investments with my stock options at work or those kind of things. I didn't know anything. And so I think that's the thing I'm so impressed by, the conversations that you two are having up front, which is, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
How can we make it feel right? How can we make it right? And then if one of you, if you have children, or if you decide one of you has a career that's going to take you to a different place, it feels like you'll be able to manage those conversations moving forward.
Yeah. And I think, especially since when we get married, we're not putting everything into one pot. And I know I have family members and I have friends who are like, why? But like, you're together, you're one. But for Nick and I was, we're going to have a shared savings, we're going to have a shared checking, but I'm going to have my own as well. And so will he. Just God forbid anything happen, or anything bad happen, whether that be, anything that could happen, that I know where my money is, and we both are going to, say, okay, we're going to both put in this amount, or like this percentage of our paycheck is going to go towards this thing. And that's how we'll put into our checking and our savings. But other than that, we're going to have separate ones. Just so
I would love to hear comments from people to see if they're willing to share, because it's very personal how you handle your money. And there's, again, I don't know that there's a right or wrong. I would applaud that effort, as I'm married this time. We have not commingled all of our funds. We have decided for a house account, we're willing to spend X number of dollars on a home, or X number of dollars on a trip or whatever. We'll put money into that account. But we have not commingled all of our, he owns his own business and has money coming in, and I have my job. And so that, I do think there's something freeing, and it's just healthy to not have to go ask for, or have somebody say, well, what was that check for 37? I say check. I know that you laugh when I say that. Every time I say check, I'm like, but nobody's writing checks today.
No.
Although some of my vendors still only take checks. Wow. But bottom line is, there's something about being able to have access to money when you need it, and know that you have that ability to take care of yourself. Whether that's, at some point you both work, you've agreed on house bills, you've agreed on owning responsibility for those, whether it's chores and all those other things that come with equity.
Right.
If you want a massage, that shouldn't be up for discussion. If he wants
a video game.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. Whatever those things are, those shouldn't have to be a daily discussion.
Right.
Because you have respect that you work.
Right. And that's what we're currently doing with our wedding, is we've both sat down. This is how much we need to save by the end of, the wedding season. This is how much you're going to give per your paycheck. This is how much I'm going to give. Both of that money gets taken out automatically. Thank goodness for automatic payments.
Right.
To where I don't see it, because it's girl math. If I don't see it, it didn't exist.
Feels right. That feels
right. Which is so nice to just, we decided on it, and that's what's happening. And we both can go look at that account and see where it's growing. And
we have to have a whole show on the wedding deal, because the differences in 30 years of weddings is huge. And having a content creator, your hashtags, your all the things that you
bridal
do,
boxes.
The bridal boxes, the bridal parties, the multiple show. That's a show. That's a whole
whole thing.
Whole conversation. Because I think it's like a financial commitment. It's like, I need to see your credit check before you become one of my bridesmaids, because you're going to have to commit to these. Anyway, that's another show.
It's a whole thing. But yes, we'll talk about it. Yeah. Equality and equity, different things.
They are different things. The expectations are different things. And I think it's it's easily misunderstood. The words are very similar, but equality is just everybody being the same. Equity is, again, there's a visual, I think, that shows a person who's in a wheelchair being lifted up so they can see over the fence. That's equity, because they're never making them equal, is making them where they're not going to be in a wheelchair and you don't have that power. What you have the power is making sure they have the same vantage point.
Got it.
So,
yeah. Yeah,
That's what that's
perfect.
about.
Well, go follow your rich BFF for all of the incredible tips and resources, and watch her video where she talks about equality and equity.
She does, and she also has a new book out, but it's a great book if you want to hear tips and tricks and just removing those words. I think for people my age, women specifically, investing and understanding um, words, being comfortable saying things like, I don't know what's it escrow,
Yeah,
why is it changing, all of the things I didn't pay attention to when I was younger because I was afraid to ask.
yeah, it's
Don't be
intimidating.
afraid to, it is intimidating, and it's the financial market for your generation is so different now.
Yeah,
Rent versus buying a home, I mean, it's
yeah.
definitely that kind of difference. So
Wow.
that's
Well,
it.
see
Face to
us
face, face to face
Fridays.
Fridays. Send in your thoughts. Let us know how you're handling your money because we're curious, and we'll keep it confidential. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.